Coming up.
I think this is going to be a walk in the bloody park, mate.
Were you doing inverted commas in the air?
I wonder if accents are like languages.
In the middle, I made a mistake, and it annoyed me.
I was effectively trained by chocolate.
They're absolutely beautiful words, and you're describing something so horrific.
I've got goosebumps, I have to say.
I wondered if I was labouring it a bit.
And now, enjoy the podcast.
How do you say that?
How do you say that?
How do you say that?
How do you say that? Hello, welcome to today's episode of How Do You Say That, sponsored by BritishVoiceover.co.uk, the podcast for voiceovers, podcasters, and anyone else who reads scripts out loud, proving that there isn't just one way to read a script, but a multitude of different ways. Well, let me introduce my co-host, Sam Boffin. Hi, Sam.
Hello.
Well, today's fun fact about Sam is, and this is great, she knows the tiger who came to tea off by heart word for word. That's amazing.
I do. And the reason I learned it was actually when my kids were small, and you'd have to try and put them back to sleep. I was going to say back to bed and to sleep in the middle of the night. Of course, you couldn't turn the lights on. You wanted to keep them shrouded in darkness. So I learnt that completely off by heart. And now whenever I hear any bit of it, I can see in my mind what that tiger was doing. What a naughty tiger.
I love that. I love that.
My co-host is Mark Rice, who has had dinner at Buckingham Palace.
Yes, well, we're recording this just after the coronation, so I thought it was a sensible one to do. Basically, when the Duke of Edinburgh Award was going and Prince Philip was doing all of the gubbins for Duke of Edinburgh, he did a competition with lots of radio stations around the country, and I was a presenter at a radio station, and one of our listeners won.
Wow.
So they allowed one person from the radio station and one of the listeners to go and have dinner, and it was really lovely. And I remember one thing, as the butlers that were serving, or the people that were serving the food, dropped a couple of croquette potatoes on the floor, and the guy turned to us and went, don't worry, the corgis will get it. And I thought, how wonderful. But it was lovely. And boy, the drinks are strong at Buckingham Palace.
Wow.
Well, of course, we also have a special guest, who this week is Kenny Blyth. Kenny, hello.
Woo.
How do you do? Lovely to be talking to you.
It's lovely to have you here.
Are you in Scotland at the moment?
Yes, in sunny Scotland, and it is sunny today. It's beautiful.
Is it?
It's a beautiful day here. Yes, just 25 miles south of Edinburgh. Peebles.
Kenny from Keebles is a multi-award-winning voiceover and actor who graduated from Queen Margaret's College, Edinburgh in 2000. The first graduate from there to win the prestigious BBC Radio Carlton Hobbs Award. That is so impressive.
Yes,
that's
it
fabulous.
is. True story.
He spent his first year working only in radio drama at the BBC in London, which has provided him with a very rare versatility in vocal age, characters and accents, often playing multiple roles in a single production. And I should know, I've listened to him on many an occasion and not realised I was listening to him, which is very impressive.
Amazing. Well, Kenny works in all areas of the industry now, all over the world, including TV, film, games, commercials, documentaries, audio drama, theatre, animation and audiobooks, all the whole gamut of stuff. He also coordinates and voices ADR for film and TV post-production in Scotland on shows like Shetland, Guilt Vigil and Outlander, to name a few.
Wow.
It is as a voice actor, though, working from his own broadcast-quality home studio that Kenny spends most of his time. Kenny, have you got a fun fact that you can share with us?
I do, I think. I mean, it's just something that people generally don't know about me. But the first thing is just before I went to drama school, I very nearly joined the police. Yes, I did. I went through the whole selection process of the police, got down to the very last interview, and didn't get in. And within a short time after that, I was off to drama school, and it could have been very different.
Wow. Have you played any hard-nosed coppers in your time?
I have played a couple of coppers, yes, in The Nest, and also I've played a few kind of hard-nosed crims.
Have you?
And when I was younger, I played more criminals, and now, as I'm getting a bit older, I've started to play a few more police officers. I don't know.
Is that the mellowness coming through?
Yes, that greyness, that almost retired weariness.
You've done pathologists. I've seen you as a pathologist as well, quite recently.
I've
Actually,
just been a pathologist in Granite Harbour. That's
nice.
correct. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. That was nice. That was a lot of fun.
Well, On that note, let us have a look at our first script of the show and ask, how do you say that?
How do you say that?
Now, this is something I've been working on this week, and let me apologise, both Sam and Kenny, because I have brought it, and it is a nightmare. This is tiny section of something much longer. It's a technical document that the client wanted basically in audio as well. So if you imagine after the Grenfell fire, lots and lots of building regulations changed to the letter of the law, how different materials had to be used in buildings and whatever. And these are the documents describing those building regulation changes.
I have to confess, I don't even understand the second paragraph.
Okay.
There's a bit in there where if you were talking about regulations in numbers, that the numbers would go up. So in other words, you'd go in regulation 7 to 10. But in this one, it seems to go regulation 7 to 4.
No, I want you to think about a document that would come from a lawyer. So it's regulation 7-4-A. There would be 7-4-B, then 7-5, then 7-6. Yes, all of that.
So
Does that make sense?
We vocalised the dash in that instance. Thank you.
I had to ask the client that because I didn't know that either. So that's only something I've learnt as well.
It is an extraordinary piece of work.
Yeah.
So I have nothing but admiration for people who do that.
Something that you would expect to see just written, you would never expect to hear it read out loud.
No, because it's so difficult to follow.
I've read it a few times, and I'm still not really much the wiser.
It's very straight. I mean, it's not. There's no characterness in this. There's no. There's no fun in this. This is a very straight piece for the building trade and for the lawyers of the building firms to kind of get their heads around. But good luck with it. Is Sam going to go first?
I am. Yes, I am.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you. In Regulation 4, paragraph 2, which covers requirements relating to building work, paragraph 2A, after Schedule 1, inserts, in brackets, in addition to the requirements of Regulation 7. In Regulation 5, which covers meaning of material change of use, after paragraph 1, omit or, and after paragraph J, insert, or the building is a building described in Regulation 7-4-A, where previously it was not.
Well done. Wow.
Wow. Applause.
I think it's paragraph I, because it goes to J, rather than paragraph 1. But
yes, of course. Yes, that's so true.
I actually followed the sense of that. Were you doing inverted commas in the air?
I was.
That's how I recorded it for the client. You've got to do the inverted commas in the air, otherwise you lose all meaning of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
I've nothing but admiration for that, Sam.
Kenny, it's your go. We'll see how you get on with it.
Okay. In Regulation 4, paragraph 2, which covers requirements relating to building work, paragraph 2A, after Schedule 1, inserts, in brackets, in addition to the requirements of Regulation 7. In Regulation 5, which covers meaning of material change of use, after paragraph I, omit or, and after paragraph J, insert, or the building is a building described in Regulation 7-4-A, where previously it was not.
Oh, well done.
Very
that
good.
Was so good.
Wasn't it good? Because the flow was gorgeous.
It really was.
I would also say, I don't think it was gorgeous as Sam's, but I would also say that I wonder if I sent that to a client, if they would turn around and say, that's really nice, but we need it 10 times faster. I mean, I wondered if I was labouring it a bit.
Really good point, actually. Did you have to go at a lick?
I wasn't asked for pacing, so I kind of went at my own pace. And I don't think I went terribly much. I mean, you know me, I go fast on everything. Yep. I don't think I went terribly much faster than Kenny, particularly, because you've just got to get your head around it. Plus the fact this isn't timed for a commercial or whatever. This is a CD or an audio file that goes out to the companies that use it, and they listen in their own time. I imagine that people would listen at 1.5 times. You know how you can do that on you can listen to this podcast 1.5 times on certain players.
Breaks your heart, doesn't it? Breaks your heart.
Shall I show you what I did?
Yes, please.
I don't
Please
think
do.
I don't think we'll learn anything new, but I'll show you what I did.
Didn't learn anything in the first place, to be fair.
Right then. In Regulation 4, Paragraph 2, which covers requirements relating to building work, Paragraph 2A, after Schedule 1, inserts, in brackets, in addition to the requirements of Regulation 7. In Regulation 5, which covers meaning of material change of use, after Paragraph I, omit or, and after Paragraph J, insert, or the building is a building described in Regulation 7-4-A, where previously it was not.
What I liked
Just
about
applause.
that, really, yes, applause, because you were so definite about it, it really
Yep.
dialed up the
Yes.
brackets.
Oh, okay.
Which I think
Yes.
was really useful, actually. Leaning into it like that made it, very clear.
I was just going to say how vital in something like this, surely, the punctuation is.
Yes.
Because it is only by the punctuation that you can make any sense of it, surely, at all.
True.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
No.
and so in theory, it's quite well written in that
Yes,
respect.
yes, absolutely.
An AI voice would
AI.
find that incredibly difficult to do.
I think so, yeah.
Even though it's well written with the punctuation, actually to get that flow that we all three of us got, I think would be very difficult. Yeah.
It's worthwhile remembering these are real scripts that we're working on, but
Yeah.
I think some of the names have been changed and some of the
Yes.
details to avoid copyright issues. But So, your script, Kenny.
If it's all right to say, thanks to Bill Walsh for
please do.
allowing me, I have read his first short story, which he's hoping to put a number of short stories together into sort of podcast length short stories.
Nice.
I read his first one, which is called The Chair. This is a small excerpt from that, but I really enjoyed reading this story, and I thought it was great. It's very dark.
I was going to say the excerpt you've given us is very dark.
And in some respects, kind of verging perhaps on the horror.
Yeah.
Certainly
Yes.
supernaturally, but certainly dark, possibly, edging into the not for the kids.
Yeah, and what I really liked about this particular piece, actually, is it's very vivid. Everything about it feels, you can see it all. It's incredible. Lovely piece of
I
writing.
think so, yeah. I think it's very, very evocative, yeah.
Shall I give it a go? Because I think it is dark.
Yes, please do.
Right, okay. As the fire begins to crack and pop, the smoke rises over the rooftops. John resumes his work with renewed vigour, the rhythmic scraping of the chisel helping to drown out the sound of the blaze. But he cannot ignore the piercing, dreadful song of the girl screaming as she is cleansed from this world. A sound so high in its pitch and so disquietingly inhuman that it beggars belief. Perhaps she truly is an agent of the supernatural after all. The noises of the crowd turn from accusation to celebration to pity to fear before dwindling to silence. Only the scream now, travelling through the late summer air and gently brushing up against the blade of the chisel, carving a microscopic record of Mary's last moments into the tiny groove-like indentations in the wood.
Wow.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I went in correctly at the top, but I kind of got this, so I probably would go back and do the beginning again.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, whenever you do something out loud for the very first time, I often feel that. I often think, oh, I see where I was meant to be going.
Yes,
I'll
exactly.
go back. I'll go back at the top and do that.
Yeah,
And I think it is such a volte-face from the previous script
Oh,
that
yeah.
that I can absolutely understand that it's not perhaps not quite using a different part of the brain, but certainly, you are almost feeling your way in from something that was quite technical before into something that was, much more storytelling and much more.
Yeah.
That's a lovely way of
involved.
putting it. A different
Yeah.
part of the brain. It might well be that.
I've often thought about which parts of the brain we use with different things, especially with accents. I had to learn some lines recently for a small TV job, and I learnt it in different accents. But what I discovered when I did the job was it was almost like it was running through a filter to get the accent, and it almost felt like I couldn't do it in the accent without accessing it through a different way. It was very odd.
Interesting. I guess that's the musical side of the brain, isn't it?
I wonder if accents are like languages. I'd be fascinated to know if anyone's done any research into which parts of the brain are working those. You would think so. So. It would certainly help me the next time I've got to learn something.
Because I find the whole accent thing fascinating because, of course, some people are superb at doing accents and others not so much.
As we found on the podcast, Sam, you and me.
Yes, well, exactly.
Some of them great, others not so much.
Yeah, absolutely. But what I find fascinating is depending on where you were born, luck of the draw of where you happen to have been born, you would have been able to adopt that accent. Mm-hmm. If you see what I mean. So it can't be that you're actually not able to learn an accent. Do you see what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, I suppose like anything else, like singing or driving a racing car or anything, there are some people who have perhaps a more of a natural aptitude to something, and some people who have to perhaps work harder.
Yeah.
I was exposed to lots of different sounds when I was young, because my dad took me down to Newcastle a lot. He played football for Newcastle and had boarded with a family when he was a young boy, and he used to go down and visit them. They were his second family, and when I was about 7 or 8, they used to give me a little square of chocolate if I said Geordie words right. And so I was effectively trained by chocolate.
Right, Sam, let's hear the story from you, the chair from you.
Okay. As the fire begins to crack and pop, and the smoke rises over the rooftops, John resumes his work with renewed vigour, the rhythmic scraping of the chisel helping to drown out the sound of the blaze. But he cannot ignore the piercing, dreadful song of the girl screaming as she is cleansed from this world. A sound so high in its pitch and so disquietingly inhuman that it beggars belief. Perhaps she truly is an agent of the supernatural after all. The noises of the crowd turn from accusation to celebration, to pity, to fear, before dwindling to silence. Only the scream, now, travelling through the late summer air and gently brushing up against the blade of the chisel, carving a microscopic record of Mary's last moments into the tiny groove-like indentations in the wood.
I've got goosebumps, I have to say. I did love what you went rhythmic scraping of the it's like you took each individual word as if it was musical. The rhythm of that, the musicality of it was beautiful.
In the middle, I made a mistake, and it annoyed me. But I kept on because I thought, I'll just go on with it.
It was microscopic. That was the disquietingly inhuman, which also I have to say is two words that even that I found also quite difficult to go into each other. I don't know why that disquietingly inhuman. But I also liked, and I also made a little note from Mark's take before. I liked the way both of you lifted that inhuman. Because obviously it's this is about the burning of a supposed witch. There was something about having a female voice reading it that made it very different.
Agreed. You put a tiny pause after scream, so only the scream now. And it's like, it's like, and that really hit me. It's like, that was lovely, really lovely.
And also just after that, before dwindling to silence, just letting that land. You know, that I thought that Sam did that too, and I thought that was lovely.
What's interesting when you read it, the horror of the situation that you're reading about is juxtaposed with these rather beautiful words.
Beautiful language,
gently brushing up, carving. You know, they're absolutely beautiful words, and you're describing something so horrific.
Yes,
it's an incredible piece to read. So I want to hear how you.
Yeah. Yes, we want to hear how you did it, Kenny.
Right. As the fire begins to crack and pop, and the smoke rises over the rooftops, John resumes his work with renewed vigour, the rhythmic scraping of the chisel helping to drown out the sound of the blaze. But he cannot ignore the piercing, dreadful song of the girl's screaming as she is cleansed from this world. A sound so high in its pitch and so disquietingly inhuman that it beggars belief. Perhaps she truly is an agent of the supernatural after all. The noises of the crowd turn from accusation to celebration, to pity, to fear, before dwindling to silence. Only the scream now, travelling through the late summer air and gently brushing up against the blade of the chisel, carving a microscopic record of Mary's last moments into the tiny groove-like indentations in the wood.
Oh, lovely.
My word.
Lovely.
My word.
And actually, it was quite swift.
Yes, it was.
Actually.
Yes, it's swifter than both of us, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Lovely.
The rolling R's of your accent were so beautiful there, but it absolutely made it. The Scottishness, if I can put it that way, really made it.
Yeah.
I think.
I would soften that off if I was doing standard Scots, something, what you might call standard or professional Scots. The R's would be not tapped. They would be just, the fire begins to crack and pop and the smoke rises over the rooftops. But that is the influence of being back home for 7 years.
Indeed, absolutely. Well, I tell you what, chaps, this is where it becomes fun, because much as we have done the two different scripts straight, as it were,
Yes.
let's play with some wildcards now, shall we?
How do you say that?
I think Kenny suggests one of the scripts and a style for you, Sam.
Cool.
Right. Well, because it's terribly in the news just now, I have chosen to do an AI voice, or a computerised version of a human voice. And I think that would be interesting in Mark's script.
Yes, absolutely. I see where you're going with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Not easy, though. Not easy, Sam, actually. No.
No, and
Not
still
easy.
try and make it work.
Well, in as much as AI makes anything make sense, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, as we know, and as clients are beginning to say as well.
Okay. So I'll have a go at that. In Regulation 4, Paragraph 2, which covers requirements relating to building work, Paragraph 2A after Schedule 1 inserts in brackets in addition to the requirements of Regulation 7. In Regulation 5, which covers meaning of material change of use, after Paragraph I, omit or, and after J, insert or the building is a building described in Regulation 7-4-A, where previously it was not.
See, I think you got the AI quite well because you lost complete meaning of it.
Yeah.
And I think any client that ended up with that would go, hang on a minute, that now doesn't make any sense.
Although that was flat, I suppose that you could do AI in a different way, couldn't you? In that kind of almost sing-songy way that sometimes AI has.
Yes.
Yeah.
In Regulation 4, Paragraph 2, which covers requirements relating to building, or something like that.
Yeah.
As we've talked about before, it's all about the pace of an AI voice because it's literally the same pace all the time. And that's how you can spot it a mile off.
Poor AI. I wonder if I missold AI in that. I don't know if they would be that blank.
Maybe not.
But it's that sort of style, isn't it? I mean, I don't know if you've ever been asked to do this in an advert, but also, almost literally to sound like, what
Like the
are
Just
your
Eat advert.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
see.
Sort of-
So do a robotic voice. Yes, in
yeah.
Regulation 4, Paragraph 2, which covers requirements relating to building work, Paragraph 2A. Yeah, you could absolutely do it that way.
Whereas I really hope that all robots will sound like C-3PO in the future. That would be lovely, wouldn't it?
I could have done a really robotic voice. You're right. Ugh.
It was that or a sports commentator. And I figured doing a sports commentator version of that would be pretty difficult.
I
Yeah.
think you're absolutely right. But now it's Kenny's turn, of course. And I think we'll go with the chair. So we'll go with the horror script, but we're going to take the horror completely
Okay.
out of it.
Okay.
So only the words will contain the horror. I think I would like you to be an excited, upbeat, optimistic person reading this story. So, in fact, the horror is very much in the words, but is not in the way that you say it.
Okay. As the fire begins to crack and pop and the smoke rises over the rooftops, John resumes his work with renewed vigour, the rhythmic scraping of the chisel helping to drown out the sound of the blaze. He cannot ignore the piercing, dreadful song of the girl screaming as she is cleansed from this world, a sound so high in its pitch and so disquietingly inhuman that it beggars belief. Perhaps she truly is an agent of the supernatural after all. The noises of the crowd turn from accusation to celebration, to pity, to fear, before dwindling to silence. Only the scream now, travelling through the late summer air and gently brushing up against the blade of the chisel, carving a microscopic record of Mary's last moments into the tiny, groove-like indentations in the wood.
Brilliant. Because the words were still horrific.
Absolutely. But big smile.
Very strange. Yeah, exactly.
That was kind of how I imagined that you might do it, but that exceeded every expectation I had there.
Cool.
Well done.
There's something almost sociopathic.
Yes.
about
Yes.
Read someone who's clearly having a great time, you know.
All right, it's my go for a wild card then. Let's see what Sam is going to come up with. Is she going to be mean or is she going to be wonderful?
I'm going to be wonderful. I'm going to give you, I think this is going to be a walk in the bloody park, mate.
Okay.
I think you can do your horrific script, not Kenny's horrific script, which is full of horror.
Oh,
but
okay.
Your
My
horrific script, which is full of a different kind of horror entirely. But I want you to do it as a magician. I think you'll be able to do that.
Ooh. Like a Harry Potter style magician or like Paul Daniels?
It depends. I imagine, I imagine a showman magician.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'll give it a try.
So not just a wizard. Oh, not
No,
just
indeed.
a wizard. Not a bog standard wizard.
Not a box standard wizard that goes, oh, ping. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I as if you've got a magic wand in your hand.
I am conjuring
Showmanship.
said wand, indeed.
Good.
In Regulation 4, Paragraph 2, which covers requirements relating to building work. Paragraph 2A, after Schedule 1, inserts in brackets, in addition to the requirements of Regulation 7.
Ring.
In Regulation 5, which covers meaning of material change of use. After Paragraph I, omit or, and after Paragraph J, insert. Or the building is described in Regulation 7-4-A, where previously it was not.
Yay!
That's brilliant.
And then I think a
Very
bunny
funny.
came out of the hat, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just as you were doing that, I was just thinking to myself, how funny it would be to do it as a racing commentator because that horrific build, you know, the build you get at the end of
Yes.
a race. Imagine trying
Absolutely.
to crash through that second paragraph. Oh, that was amazing, though, Mark.
I'm tempted, Sam, to ask him to do it as a racing commentator. What do you reckon?
Oh, do. Yeah, get Kenny to do it as...
Kenny, I mean, if you'd like to. I mean, now you've suggested it.
Okay.
In Regulation 4, Paragraph 2, which covers requirements relating to building work, Paragraph 2A, after Schedule 1, inserts in brackets, in addition to the requirements of Regulation 7. In Regulation 5, which covers meaning of material change of use, after Paragraph I, omit or, and a Paragraph J, insert or. The building is a building described in Regulation 7-4-A, where previously it was not.
Well done. Amazing. Yes.
Made a few mistakes
Brilliant.
there, but just kept crashing through it.
That was so cool.
I love it.
That was brilliant. A lovely,
Good Lord.
lovely build. It was
Yes.
so good. That's so good.
Oh, dear. Lots of those adverts recently.
And so if you want to play along with us with the wildcards in the privacy of your own booths, we have put the scripts in the show notes so you can have a try yourselves.
Yes, you can be as horrific as you like, with either script actually today, can't you? If you've got any specific voiceover questions that you'd like answers to, you can send your question for future episodes to podcast@britishvoiceover.co.uk. And actually, Sam, we've had a fair few people over the last few weeks send us their clips, which it's been lovely to listen to, and I really do enjoy it, so thank you for that.
Our question this week is... how long should you wait to get your demo reels done when you're starting out? Or even if you're already established but just changing genres, you're doing something new?
I think, depending on what you're looking to do, I think it possibly is. I mean, as we were discussing earlier, my time when I started out at the Radio Drama Company back then, which is 2000, people were very adamant that when you started on the radio drama company, everybody wanted to get a voice reel and everybody wanted to be doing commercials. And we were very strongly advised not to get them done too early because we would learn so much in the first year. And I think that was excellent advice then. Obviously, things have changed and people now, they do want things immediately.
Yesterday. Yes, indeed.
You know, I would say that there's no substitute for training. You know, if you haven't done any radio drama and you want to make a radio drama reel, it would seem like a good idea to me to do a bit of practice, to get together with some friends and get some scripts together, or even write a couple of scenes and work on it before you went out and recorded something that is likely to cost you money, because that's fundamentally the truth of it is, if you're going to outlay money on something, you want it to make returns.
Yep.
It's as simple as that. If you come from an acting background but you've not done any commercial stuff, I think the same rule applies.
Which is why these workouts are so important, and to get together with 2 or 3 other voices and join up as we do when we record the podcast. It's a really good practice way of kind of knowing what you're good at and knowing what maybe you need more work on.
Yes, absolutely. And I've still, you know, despite the huge sort of mushroom of people who went through, you know, when lockdown happened, who went home and for very good reason just were like, well, I've got to do something. And so, you know, got a microphone and did some stuff. I've still got people coming to me just now and saying, you know, how do we get a voice role? We Gyan and I, my friend Gyan and I run the voiceover social up here, and people still come forward and say, oh, I've been thinking about it for ages, I want to get a voice reel together. But, you know, I think it's important to make sure that when you get something like that made, it's at a point where you're ready to make a return on that. And not just go out and do it and then regret it and 6 months later have to make another one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But and also because when you start training in a certain genre, you begin to realise where your voice sits best within it. And of course, in any given genre, there are loads and loads of different things you could do, but there are almost certainly particular areas, even within a genre, where you are better suited. And until you start experimenting and, you know, playing around, which is the joy of, you know, of being able to do training or coaching with somebody, there has to be an element of you just playing around and getting used to what your voice can and can't do. So if one is always thinking of coaching as simply being a means to an end, in other words, if you think, well, look, I'll have 3 coaching sessions and by the end of it, I want to be able to do my commercial reel. It doesn't quite work like that.
No, indeed, no.
A lot of it is playing around and working out where you are, working out that maybe commercial reel ain't your thing anyway. The more you can play around and, you know, and find out where your voice lands, the better. So, and then make your reel after that.
Excellent advice. Kenny, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It has been great. And that script that you brought was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Bill will be delighted.
Do say thank you to Bill for us. And of course, all Kenny's details will be found in the show notes.
Definitely. We'll also, of course, as I said before, be putting today's scripts in the show notes so you can have a play with it yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And do send any voiceover questions to us at podcast@britishvoiceover.co.uk.
Please do like and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And do feel free to give us a review if you want to.
That would be lovely. That's it for this week. Kenny, we all do the end bit together, if that's okay, if you can be steeled to do that. I know you've listened before, so you know what's coming up. So thank you very much again to Kenny Blyth, and we'll be back next week with more scripts and another voiceover guest when we'll be asking all together, my friends.
How do you say
that?
How do you say that?